This is Chris Hansen.
Chad doing Rip City Radio here.
It's your favorite basketball player, Tyler Hansbrough.
This is Jamie Hudson.
This is TJ Houshmandzadeh.
And I'm going to let y'all know something.
Duke sucks and Duke will always suck.
You're listening to
It Just Makes Sense.
It Just Makes Sense.
We are sports. We are nostalgia. We are pop culture. And we're funny sometimes.
I think overall we're just a good time.
They thought we couldn't do it. But guess what?
We're back.
Podcasts are free, and we can do whatever the hell we want.
Yeah.
We never knew what we were doing in the first place.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Sides
The chode
together.
wire.
Chode wire.
Yeah. The chode wire. The chode bridge.
The chode bridge is what Derek Rose heard. So just for your visuals there.
Coaches could be cancer in the locker room, and Sean Payton is that guy.
He seems to be that guy.
I'm not a huge Russell Wilson fan, but I want to see him succeed with the next team he's going to, just to stick it to Denver. If you want to move on from someone,
You just eat it and move on.
Taking it and you're moving on. And who are
Speaking of
to
losing,
call people out on losing bets, okay? We suck at betting.
And remember, don't be afraid to fade yourself.
this photo creeped me the hell out. When I saw it, I thought it was fake. Because I was like, there's just no way that this is real. Here, look. Isn't that kind of a scary family photo?
Oh man, the kid has her length of her face. Oh no.
And just the mustache.
She married Nick Offerman. Ron Swanson.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like a virgin one. Ron Swanson is who she married.
The kid looks just like her.
Yeah. Isn't it weird when, like, there's just, like, an ugly baby, and then you have to act like
The
it doesn't
baby's
look
not
like
ugly,
Satan?
Though. It just has her, like, her
Yeah.
facial structure and her chin.
Very long, oblong.
It's like someone took one of those clamps and put it on her chin and then pulled it down.
It's just melting. It's a melting face. I can't put up that photo for anyone to see, but we may have mentioned this person. No, I don't think we've mentioned this person before. So
What if she listens? She's
a
like,
P1, she
fucking
might.
asshole.
She might.
The number of people that we probably know in our lives
That actually listen.
that
Yeah.
we've never heard from, there's probably a bigger number than we would expect.
I don't know if this is just like we're all in the same jet stream or if it's just pure coincidence. So as Braxton alluded to last week, we'll talk about Braxton here in a second. As Braxton alluded to, I sold my house. We are going to have a new studio here in the next month at the new house. In selling this house, someone that I literally graduated with at my small private Catholic school, in which we were 120 people in my class, 600 total at the school. One of the 3 offers that we got on our house was someone that I went to high school with, graduated with. And the first time I sold my house, back in 2019 or 2020 or whatever that was, someone that I worked with bid on that house too. And then I wasn't sure because we kind of worked casually. We weren't directly always working together. This guy worked more on the radio side of the in-studio radio stuff. And then his letter to us, because that's when people were still doing letters, was kind of talking about his career and playing up who he was as kind of a personality. I'm like, is he aware that I'm selling
Clearly
this
he
house?
wasn't.
It was just kind of and then it was so weird. It was how do I talk about this or whatever? Same thing. It turned out I didn't accept the offer of the person that I went to high school with. It was a decent offer, but it wasn't the best offer. So now it's what do I do? What do I say to this person? Do I say anything?
Were you friends?
I mean, like, everyone knows each other. We weren't, like, friends, but, like, we were friendly and interacted or whatever. We weren't, like, hanging out together on purpose or anything.
I don't think you owe an explanation.
Yeah.
I think it's self-explanatory that her offer was beaten by another one.
Yeah, that's true.
The thing also fits, though. Like, private Catholic high school, suburbs.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, welcome to It Just Makes Sense. Sans Barack's Tone. He is on his honeymoon, so I get to sit in the corner here. I thought about bringing my dog Bo into this studio, but because we leave the garage door open and because there's so much happening in the garage right now,
Bo doesn't really watch sports.
Not as big of a sports guy as good old Hank was. So maybe eventually we will do a puppy reveal. On the pod, but right now not so much because I just don't trust that dog to not run off. He's got a little bit there, so
Braxton's gonna come back and then we'll have an Italian episode.
Yeah, we'll have to be like subtitled to make sure, but yeah, I'm not fully convinced that we won't get a jailbreak from good old Bo, which leads me into, did you hear about how Haiti, the country Haiti, has declared a state of emergency after a mass prison escape? So this happened this past weekend. Thousands of inmates, over 3,000 inmates at one of like the most high security prisons, so like the worst of the worst prisoners, somehow thwarted with like a surge of gang violence and other thing like that, a quote deterioration of security and increasing criminal acts perpetrated by armed gangs. They were able to create a prison break, both from the inside and the outside. Over 3,000 people, dangerous criminals at large now in Haiti. So they've declared a state of emergency.
But think about that.
Hide your kids. Hide your wife.
I'm not saying that they're not going to do anything bad, but if you've been in prison and you break out, do you think your first course of action, your first priority is to go on a mass murder spree?
Or to just hide out, right?
But they'll probably go and eat food.
Maybe. But I mean, like, kind of my thing is like, if you're trying to get away or you're trying to hide, like, what would you do?
But I'm saying, like,
would you purge a family and live in their house?
But they're not. I'm not saying that they wouldn't, but they're not gonna go and commit a crime to go back in right away.
Right. But I mean, like, what my biggest thing is that they at this point are in desperation because Haiti is on an island. It's not as if like you can just like spread out in Haiti. Like, so what? Do you go and steal a boat? Do you go and like?
But they got
hide away in a house.
They got in prison once. They can be put in there again.
I suppose so. Yes.
I feel like they might go back to doing their shit, but it's not gonna be right away.
Let's see, any other things from
Cut them
here?
some slack.
Cut the prisoners some slack. I saw that.
They're probably going to go straight to fucking McDonald's. Like.
Chiefsaholic pled guilty to all of his stuff and things there. So.
I mean, that guy's the least of the country's worries.
How frustrating is that, too? Like, you know. Obviously, that feeling, that has always terrified me. Like, this person has actually legitimately done something bad. And maybe we've talked about it here on the podcast, which is I am so terrified of, like, committing involuntary manslaughter or something like that to the point where, like, someone died and it wasn't my intention. It was just, like, something totally freak accident, and now somehow I'm being punished for that. And then all of a sudden I just, like, get put away for a few years. And then I come back out and I go, hey, what's happening, guys? Anything happen? You go, yeah, lots. And then you just feel like it's just ultimate FOMO for accidentally killing someone.
I've been watching a lot of Suits, and what it made me realize is you got to have a fucking kick-ass lawyer. That lawyer can get you out of Harvey Specter can get you out of anything.
Get you out of anything.
Anything.
Well, I will not hire the person who was doing the inspection on my house. That person, very dumb, very dumb. I don't know who you are. It is pretty funny because for all of the, for people who've bought and sold a house, you always go through this like awkward negotiation stage where they ask for repair addendums and all this. What's really interesting, this being a cash offer, a cash deal on my house, is that we know they have the money. It's not a matter of like, you know, this would save on their mortgage or their closing costs or anything like that. Like, legitimately, their biggest flex was like sending us a screenshot of their bank account and saying like, we have this much money in. It's a lot of money.
Like enough that you don't question.
Yeah, enough that you know. And so then they do this repair addendum and they like make up just the smallest things, and they're like, we will, if you take $5,000 off the, and I go, listen, prove it. Prove that any of this needs to get done. And it's just kind of like, we want $1,000 to fix the flashing. It's like, you know very well that you just want $1,000. You're not going to get on the roof and fix the flashing on this house, you butthead.
But you know, at that point, it's not about money.
Yeah.
They're trying to establish dominance.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to pin you against the wall, knowing you'll agree to anything because
they will not get it.
Everyone hates being inconvenienced or having this drag longer than it needs to.
Right.
So people find that sweet spot and they're like, what can we get out of these people?
Knowing full well that we have to move things along to close on our other house. So
fuck that, strong arm them.
Yeah, well, they're trying to assert some dominance. I wonder, something that I had talked with you ahead of the podcast. I saw a video on the Tiki Talks. There's this guy. He is a little bit Southern. He classifies himself as Redneck. And he has this thing. So I made a list of a list of words that I think would make cute baby names. And I was curious. I want you to hear these. And then I wonder if anything came to mind for you. So again, I made a list of words that I think would make cute baby names.
First on my list, I have cigarette, except I would add an A on the end, so it would be cigaretta. That sounds like a Disney princess.
Cigarette is a Disney princess.
Cigaretta. She's won the beauty pageant at the county fair 4 years in a row. Next up, I've seen a few people say this one, but I had to add it to my list. Felony. I know it's bad, but if you take away the meaning of it, that is such a pretty name.
Felony.
It's like Melanie. Felony. Or for a boy, you drop the Y and it's just felon. Next on the list is rifle. And I know some of y'all are probably like, I don't know about that one. Okay, well, picture a little red-headed boy riding a bicycle up and down your street, probably delivering newspapers. That's rifle. You see it now? This next one sounds
Rifle's
a little
kind of
exotic.
a cool name.
Venison. I like it. She's probably moved here from out of town, real shy, real quiet, knows how to read a book probably. Next, I got Barn. That's right, Barn. Could be short for Barney, but it's not. Barn's the type of kid you want on your little league football team. He's just tough as nails. Barn.
Barn's a
Y'all
linebacker.
let me know if you got any other good names.
Barn. Yeah, so there you go.
I like rifle. Felony's kind of cool.
Yeah. You know what's funny is he was talking about, what was the first one there? Cigaretta, right? Cigaretta is like not just a Disney princess, but maybe with like a C-section scar or something like that.
Cigaretta.
So maybe just a nice little, and I think that my computer is casually restarting, so we're just kind of gonna have to deal with that in the moment.
Or the boy Felon. I think Felon is.
Felon's kind of strong in Barn.
Because Fallon's a name.
Yeah, true.
Like, I've seen people use Fallon as a first name. It's not it's Felon.
Yeah,
Fallon.
okay. So if you were to play this game, is there something that kind of comes to mind as a name that would make a cute one? Or even something that doesn't make sense? The first one that came to mind for me is not a fun word, but I thought that melancholy would be a fun name. But melancholy is something very sad. We call him Mel.
If my parents named me that, I'd fucking hate them. Because it's a long-ass name that you know is going to get cut off
Melancholy
when they're
is
taking
4
attendance.
syllables. Yeah.
They're like, Melon. Smith.
Yeah, that's
President.
me. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure I could come up with a few. I haven't given it that much thought.
Right, okay. So, I mean, let's just kind of like look around the garage
Spalding.
Here. Right. Caulk.
Or I think this could actually be a name. You know, the the basketball brand that the Olympics they use.
Was it
Molten?
Yeah.
Molten could be a name. Molten.
Mizuno.
The volleyball. If your kid's half Japanese.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a sander behind you called Makita. Makita's not bad.
I guarantee there's Japanese people named Makita.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm sure it actually means something profound or whatever. And yeah, so at official IJMS, a name that is already a word in which you think would actually make for a good name.
If you're going to groom your kid to be a hooper, you name him Heater.
That's true, yeah.
Peter, Heater. He's on a heater.
Automatic, and then just name him Otto.
Otto.
Not bad. Not bad. It is interesting. I am curious. What do you think now in 20 years will be like a name that came out of pop culture now? And what I mean by that is like, and this might show some of my ignorance, but I'm kind of attributing people's naming of like Shaquille or an iteration of Shaquille to like Shaquille O'Neal. Is that incorrect? Was Shaquille like a super popular name and I'm just sounding super ignorant?
No, I think he was the only well-known Shaquille, so a lot of people named after that. The same way that people named their kids after Kobe.
Right.
Like Kobe wasn't a common thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that.
Yeah, so it's like, who around now is going to inspire a name that, like, we see them as an adult, or maybe eventually they're a... Does anything arise to you?
There's a pretty common name that is not used that much, but I feel like would start to gain traction. Drake. I think
Yeah.
Drake would be a name that we could see down the road.
Yeah.
Used a lot.
I wonder how and why the names with the EN or AN really became a thing.
It all gets recycled, don't you
Yeah.
think? Like you have what you would consider, like if you name your kid like Nancy or Carol, and we're like, oh, what is she, 100?
Right.
Because those were names
for
from
sure.
30 years ago.
Right, Beverly.
But now
Ingrid.
you're seeing people name their kids Theodore,
Mm-hmm.
Winston,
Yeah.
Henry, Benjamin. These are all names from back in the day, so I think it all just gets recycled.
Right.
Where like
but there's also the Haydens, Cadens, Bradens, all that.
Jadens,
Ashton. Nothing inherently wrong with that. You do wonder like how a person's name is going to age, right? It's like, and I have no problem with your fiance's name, but it's almost like I don't think I've ever seen an 80-year-old Ashley. Have you? And so it's just kind of like I'm interested, like, every time my grandma was named Helen and my other grandma was named Beverly, right? And that's kind of when I think about like an old grandma's name where that's what I attribute it to. And so then to think that like a Brittany or an Ashley or even like my wife, Lindsay, just that Y name, it's almost like
Chelsea.
Yeah, like cute or, like youthful in a way, right? I mean,
I think the thing that I don't think gets recycled or retro that doesn't come back, and it's just per generation, is how back in the day it used to be very long names. It's like Margaret so-and-so, so-and-so last name.
Right.
And now people are more into like, let's make it short and sweet. Mm-hmm. Like Jaden Thomas, Braxton John.
Yeah.
Nicholas whatever.
Sparks.
And some people are like, I've seen some people jump to the nickname.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, your name's Nick. Is that short for Nicholas? No, my name's actually just Nick.
Yeah, actually, Jamie Hudson, friend of the pod, on the intro. She is married to a guy named John. Just John. No Jonathan.
It's not Jonathan.
No, yeah, just flat John. And Nothing wrong with it. Yeah, sometimes you're just slow. Oh, yeah. Now, I have no idea what my son Brody is going to pick as an adult, because I would imagine that he will graduate out of Brody. His long name is Broderick, middle name David after my grandfather. I feel like I'm telling everyone my security questions tonight.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, if he goes with Derek, I'm going to be real mad about that, though. He can't go with Derek. Bro Derek?
It's his call. It ain't your call.
That's true. That's very true.
He has to leave. He has to live with it.
And you know what wasn't his call and who has to live with it is none other than Russell Wilson, if we can pivot to the sports. It is the first league day. Things are happening. People are getting cut. You're seeing players get franchise tagged and the like. One of those people, as we expected, Russell Wilson of the Denver Broncos.
What a perfect example, though. Like, we always talk about certain teams, certain players can't do this and can't do that because of the salary cap or the salary hit. It ultimately doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you want to move on from someone,
You just eat it and
you're
move on.
taking it and you're moving on. The numbers don't fucking matter at all.
It is pretty wild. So Russell Wilson cut before he even enters into his extension. So they are on the hook. The Broncos are until 2026. He technically could get paid until the 28-29 season, I believe, and that would be upwards of 50. But there is an out after 26. So I think that they're on the hook for somewhere in the range of I think it's 58 to 60 some odd million, might be even more. But it's going to be the Broncos at this point, just kind of cut their losses in a way where they just go, it wasn't necessarily a cut your loss. It was someone won out and they realized that couldn't coexist. And it's interesting because you make this trade but you had this trade in Russell Wilson, you had Nathaniel Hackett, and then you just go, okay, we're pivoting to a new coach. And then you probably at that point know what Sean Payton, if that's the guy that you target, you probably know what his stance would be on Russell Wilson, wouldn't you think? Unless that relationship deteriorated so quickly. But, wouldn't you think that the Broncos, if they had any hindsight whatsoever, would be we just invested hundreds of millions of dollars into our quarterback. Despite what we feel about Sean Payton and his greatness and everything, we need to make this Russell Wilson thing work. And maybe, did we all think that Sean Payton was, I guess we did. I think,
or Sean Payton just wanted to get hired and
Yeah.
he wasn't going to reveal any of that shit until they started working together.
If I'm trying to recall what I had said, I was saying that Russell Wilson was going to be a top 10, if not top 5 quarterback with Sean Payton as his coach.
The shitty thing is, Broncos season went down the fucking drain, and then you can hold 2 people responsible outside of front office. You can hold Sean Payton and Russell Wilson responsible, and it's like they made a choice. Who do we blame and who do we get rid of?
Right.
Wouldn't you think because of... And this is why I think ultimately the salary thing is bullshit. Because I feel like they would have taken less of a hit getting rid of Sean Payton rather than Russell Wilson.
Yeah, it doesn't affect your salary cap.
But most of the blame went to Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
So,
Getting rid of Sean Payton, you still have to pay them that money, but it doesn't affect your bottom line there.
professional sports teams, when we're addressing salary cap and salary hit and all the fucking numbers and money, I always roll my eyes because I'm like, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Professional sports teams will move on from someone regardless of what it does, what the money does, because it doesn't fit what they're trying to do anymore.
Right.
They'll take the fucking loss. They'll take the hit.
It's interesting, too, because you wonder when you kind of have to draw a line in the sand and align yourself with, I guess in this instance, a coach or a quarterback, is it that you, as an owner, and I'm pretty sure that the trade for Russell Wilson occurred before the new ownership of the Walton family. So they did not decide on Russell Wilson. They did decide on Sean Payton. And when you kind of draw that line in the sand, it's kind of odd sometimes in this day and age that the coach would kind of win out over player.
The shitty thing is, and we have been very clear that we're not fans of Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
But they're using him as a scapegoat.
For sure.
And trying to make him look even worse, saying, we're willing to take this hit just so we don't have you anymore. And I'm not a huge Russell Wilson fan, but I want to see him succeed with the next team he's going to, just to stick it to Denver.
And we'll get here. I want to get your thoughts on where he may end up here in just a second. But when we think about, like, so in your mind, if we were to say spectrum of this is crazy, you should have never done it, or it was worth it, they should have cut him for the sake of stabilizing the team and moving on and cutting your losses, possibly having to own the title of worst trade in NFL history. Remember, you had like 3, 4, 5 draft picks, a bunch of them high, then 3 players. Like, it's just insane to make that. And then, to be on the hook with Sean Payton, also getting rid of draft picks. And yet that GM still has his freaking job on that team, which is crazy. Crazy. But where do you think on that, like, this is crazy or it was worth it? Because they pay him either way.
I don't think we're at the stage where we could make that call yet. It's going to depend how they look next season. Because then if they fail, you could be like, you guys are a bunch of fucking idiots.
Yeah.
But if somehow they do well, and you're like, okay, you made the right move. First of all, I think Russell Wilson, because of who he's married to and who he's tied to, like the type of people around him,
right,
he kind of has that celebrity status. So I think he's going to want to stay close to California. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a good chance of him going to Vegas.
Yeah, I definitely
playing for the Raiders.
I saw that too, right? Like, you have kind of a new experiment there in Antonio Pierce in Las Vegas. The thought at staying in division, the chance to possibly stick it there. One division that you think about, depending on how I guess we're talking about how good the Bucs are going to be. It looks like that Mike Evans is back for a couple more years with the Bucs. Baker's going to sign back. But Sierra and her connection to the Atlanta market was also interesting. I know that there's been a lot of talk about Kirk Cousins and his wife and her connection to all of that. Kirk Cousins will ultimately be the domino that falls that will trigger a bunch of different things within the NFL. But yeah, I think
I see the Falcons being the possibility, but the thing with the Raiders is, yes, they're not in Oakland anymore, but they seem to be the franchise that like embraces the misunderstood,
the misfits and the castaways.
Yeah. You'd have the John Grudens of the world, and even the Jimmy G kind of falls into that jumping around. I think it's a perfect fit for Russ, and I think there's enough weapons there. And with Pierce as the head coach,
could you imagine Max Crosby being pissed off at Russell Wilson though? Oh my God! He might actually murder his own teammate.
But the thing with these players is it's a network of players, and they know whether or not someone's on their team or a teammate. They know what the other people are going through.
Right.
I think the people like Max Crosby and everyone with the Raiders, I think they will embrace Russell Wilson. It was like, hey, they treated you like shit over there. Be with us. We'll be one unit, and we'll support. We'll have your back
until shit hits the fan, and then True. That's just kind of like everything is fine in training camp, and then you finally get into it, and all of a sudden the first game comes by, and Russell Wilson's going, "Everybody, yell pass, pass!" It's like, what is this, fucking high school?
Yeah, but that has a lot to do with the coach.
It does, yeah.
And I think Antonio Pierce is the type of coach that's not going to let shit like that happen in his locker room.
Yeah, but I mean, like, didn't we kind of say that about Sean Payton and how he was going to help stabilize that locker room, and it turned out to be a freaking nightmare? I mean, like, in the second half of the year, they
Sean
did
Payton and Antonio Pierce are night and day.
Yeah.
You have a former player that's respected by his players.
Yeah.
And Sean Payton is just, he proved that he is a fucking piece of shit.
He is a dickhead.
He doesn't have that respect from his players.
The clock definitely starts on Sean Payton for sure, because there's just no more excuses, right? There's just absolutely no more excuses. I mean, I'm interested to see what they do with the number 12 pick. You think that they probably have to draft a quarterback there, right? No matter what.
Yeah, who's going to be there?
I mean, there's going to probably, like, you'll have the Bo Nixes of the world. You'll have the J.J. McCarthys of the world. Apparently, I've seen that, is that J.J. McCarthy of Michigan, the ultimate game manager, has apparently been climbing up the draft boards there. Bo Nix, one of the few quarterbacks who actually threw at the combine. Some people were talking about that. But then also, I saw this CBS video with him. They're like, oh, we predict where all these guys are going to go based off of your answers. And Bo Nix answering questions that kind of lean more towards like the Patriots a little bit. So not quite sure. A guy who is climbing up the draft boards as well. I don't know where he's going to go. Michael Penix Jr., he threw very powerful. People were like, it seems like he's doing well there, within his draft stock. So at 12, I think you have to take a quarterback, obviously, right?
Yo, who's left with Denver after Russ left? We don't even know who whose
no
backup
idea.
is,
Let me
right?
look this up. My computer's still rebooting here. Let's go to Broncos depth chart. Broncos depth chart. Let's see. I don't know. Is Jarrett Stidham still on? Ben
No.
DiNucci? I mean, what is Jarrett Stidham's contract situation? But he was the guy who
I thought
finished the
Stidham was
season
with a
for that.
different team.
Stidham was the one who had, so let's see, 2024 Broncos depth chart. Hold on. Don't make me sign up for something. Hold on. Quarterback, yeah. Jarrett Stidham right now is QB1 with Ben DiNucci, number 2.
Well, McCarthy started climbing up in the ranks because he did really well in the combine.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't J.J. McCarthy look like he's cosplaying like an actual quarterback, that he's like the One Tree Hill quarterback? And is that unfair to just be like, you're the pretty boy quarterback of this draft class?
Well, besides being a pretty boy, he's got the stature of a prototypical quarterback. He's like, what, 6'5"?
Is he? Like, let me look
He
that up.
looks fucking tall. I don't know.
You think he looks tall? Because to me, he looks like he's a shrimp. Really? J.J. McCarthy.
I'd say 6'4".
J.J. McCarthy.
6'4", 6'5".
21 years old, 6'3". He's my height if I claim myself to be 6'3". So
he looks fucking tall.
Yeah, we shall see.
Maybe it's his length. Like his long fucking arms and long torso.
Dick. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not quite sure. Like maybe Bo Nix is your guy. Maybe someone who's older, right? I mean, I've got to double check and see where Michael Penix is at that point.
It doesn't matter what quarterback they get. Sean Payton's gonna fucking ruin them.
You think?
Yeah. The guy needs to be gone. He's how often do you say, like we say it about players all the time, but it's a thing that coaches could be cancer in the locker room, and Sean Payton is that guy.
He seems to be that guy.
He could be buddies with his new quarterback, and as soon as that quarterback fucks up, he's going to come down on him. And you think that the good Christian boy that Bo Nix is will mesh well with a piece of fucking shit like Sean Payton?
No.
I don't think so.
With the league year starting, we've also seen a good number of other cuts as well. The Seahawks are kind of waving the white flag a little bit on their defense. Quandre Diggs, Jamal Adams, Will Dissly. Will Dissly wasn't. Oh yeah, Will Dissly gone.
They paid a lot of money for Adams, and Adams has barely been on the field.
He's been hurt. He's just been they gave up first rounds for him. They just kind of leaned in time after time after time, and And maybe it was Pete Carroll who kind of kept him around too. Now that Pete Carroll's gone, Jamal Adams shown the door with Quandre Diggs and Will Dissly. Jerome Baker from the Dolphins was a bit of a surprise there. A cap casualty, as one might say. So interested to see where some of these guys end up. But I overall, like, you kind of look up and down. Like, you kind of make the case for guys like Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, and the like.
Why the fuck does it matter? The Chiefs are going to win another Super Bowl.
Yeah, one guy who was not cut but will not be on a team in 2024. The man of the year, as apparently the sexiest man of the year, Jason Kelce, retiring after 13 years with the Philadelphia Eagles, and made the announcement, had a 41-minute press conference in which
Good for him.
He spent about half of that time crying, but I mean, he earned every bit of that 40 minutes to just have that platform to say what he wanted to say. You know, I don't think that it was a surprise to anyone after kind of seeing the beginning of his retirement tour during the Chiefs playoff run, but seeing the press conference, 41 minutes in which he was crying for most of it, which he earned every tear and every moment of silence and every whimper that he had. But then, like the tributes and the stories that have come out, I sent you guys some videos that people had done as well, and just like, to realize how much the game meant to him, to the city, and what, his thoughts towards the city and all of that. Certainly, like, really cool to see how it all kind of went down. It was hard to like not get emotional about it, even if like you're not directly connected to it.
You don't have to be a Philly fan to
be a good human
to
fan.
be affected by that. It's just it's a good decision from a non-football standpoint.
Yeah,
there's like guys like that who love the game and who like has difficulty walking away from football because they love playing it so much. You typically play longer if you don't have any other reason to stop.
Yeah.
But he has 3 little girls. He has a wife. He's enjoying the podcast, the non-football activities that he's doing. So it's like, it's time to walk away. Like, don't beat your body up so much that you can't play with your fucking kids.
What's ironic when you say that is that they just dropped a New Heights podcast in conjunction with his retirement. And one of the first things that Jason Kelce does is he just right off of a ladder.
Bill's Mafia table
lit on fire.
Hey.
So you're talking about not necessarily wanting to beat up your body, and the first thing that he does is probably the most reckless thing that you could do. So I thought that was kind of funny.
That's nothing compared to the tush push.
Yeah, it's nothing compared to the things that he does to his body. No, you were probably
But good for him.
Yeah, and it was nice to see the entire Kelce family there supporting him. Obviously, his brother Travis there, who just a lot of people within the Eagles organization too, who are just like packed within the press conference room in the cafeteria, just watching this. Guy's just a good human, and it's like easy to root for a guy who's a good human.
You can see how much fun he was having when he was watching the Super Bowl in the conference championship.
For sure.
Like, he's enjoying the retirement life already. He's kind of waiting for this. Like, it's time for you to walk away.
Yeah, and for sure. I want to play this clip. Obviously, like, the connection between he and his brother Travis could not be better summed up in this 36-second clip.
We did almost everything together. Competed, fought, laughed, cried, and learned from each other. We invented games, imagined ourselves as star players of that time. We'd envision making the winning plays day after day on Kohler Ridge Road. We won countless Super Bowls in our minds before ever leaving the house.
That was an incredible line. I mean,
from their
who hadn't done that, right?
From their parents, how many Super Bowls does these two have combined? Travis has
4.
Travis has 2.
He has 3.
He has 3,
right? Isn't it?
Oh
3?
yeah. They
so
won
back
in
to back,
2019.
and then that first,
and then Kelce has 1.
Yeah.
So 4 Super Bowls.
4 Super Bowls. The football mom of America.
They're both going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't ask for a better career
for sure.
Both your kids.
I know. And, probably evaluating a little bit about what's going on in Philly. We'll talk about that in a second. But, yeah, just like the ability, knowing, and he mentioned it in the press conference about how much it sucked this last year, I think was his exact words, just for it to kind of fall apart the way that it did. And, to just kind of say, like, listen, my opportunities, like, my draft stock has never been higher outside of football as well. So I don't necessarily think that he's going to jump right away into media stuff. I think he'll do his own thing and then, like, kind of Pat McAfee his way up into something and, like, sell his brand along with his brother so that then, just like the Peyton Manning and Eli, right? Like, they're not ESPN employees.
Yeah.
They are on ESPN doing the Manning cast. And so definitely, like, we all know that that's going to happen. There's going to be an alt cast with the Manning brothers at some point. But I think that we'll see plenty of Jason Kelce, just hopefully not traditional. I think that, like, he's almost better than that,
Well, the thing that's different about him when he gets into that world is he is universally loved.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people out there, unless you're a fucking psycho, that could find and nitpick something negative about him. Mm-hmm. Like, you can take the Pat McAfees of the world. Half the fucking audience probably thinks he's a douchebag. Yeah. And the other half enjoys his content.
Right.
I think with Jason Kelce is, like, people are going to tune in just because they love the guy.
Yeah. Poke a hole in this guy for sure. And I mean, he's so relatable. There's that, like, that classic, like, American dream. For people, and we'll link it at official IGMS. If you haven't watched the 5-6 minute tribute video that the Eagles did, which is pretty remarkable that you can put together a tribute video 6 minutes long for a guy who played offensive line and, like, make it compelling enough that's not just, like, tackling and running.
Lot about him.
Yeah. And, it's just like, and he talks about it. It's just kind of like people will not only remember for you what you did on the field, but they're going to remember how you treated them and how you made them feel. And I think that's a good reminder for all of us, right? Where it's just kind of like, you can motherfuck your way to the top. You can scorched earth policy. You can scam people to get money. You can do all those things, but, like, is that really how you want to do it?
But those people who motherfuck their way to the top, who didn't necessarily earn to get to the top, are the assholes that are not. They're not like him. They're not nice to people.
For sure, yeah,
that's beneath him.
Yeah,
he's the guy that earned it from being a walk-on, switching positions, all the way to the top of the sport that he's in. But he's the guy who, makes somebody at the McDonald's cash register fucking happy just because he's really nice to them. Mm-hmm. Like, he's just a common man.
Right. It is. And I sent you guys this yesterday because, obviously going through, like, buying and selling a house and all the stress with that and, amongst all of your other things. I don't know. I said this. I was like, I don't know if I just, like, needed a good cry or if this was actually that compelling, but I was just like ugly crying watching Jason Kelce for the content yesterday. And so I was like, I dare you not incredible. Right? I dare you not.
It's a great fucking story.
So
with him and his brother.
End of the tush push, I wonder. What do you think is going to happen to the Eagles overall? 2 questions. Number one, in the locker room from a culture perspective, is there that type of mentality? And I don't know the Eagles roster well enough to be like, this is the guy in waiting to be the next culture coach of the Eagles on the roster. And then also, like, we all know that the success, people have tried and tried and tried with the tush push. And it hasn't worked because they didn't have Jason Kelce. And he was the guy who always made it.
But he's also the one who said that people put so much weight on and so much emphasis on the tush push and how successful it is. He's the one who said during his podcast, their success rate with a normal quarterback sneak is higher than the tush push.
Really?
So, and if you are the guy playing behind Jason Kelce, you know the shoes that you have to fill. I mean, you better come prepared.
Right, for sure. You better come prepared. And you better come prepared on It Just Makes Sense. As we had talked about, Kirk Cousins and the domino that will fall. Where do you think that Kirk Cousins ends up? And then ultimately what that does to everyone else?
I think he stays in Minnesota.
You do?
Yeah. I don't think their season last year was decided by Kirk Cousins playing like shit. I think he got hurt, and they didn't have him. So I don't think they're moving on from him because of that. They didn't have him. They didn't have Justin Jefferson. They had injuries to deal with.
Right.
I don't think he's going anywhere. I think with all the quarterback movements, I think he's staying put. And I think the people are going to be moving are like Justin Fields and Russ, obviously. But I don't think Kirk Cousins earned out of Minnesota because of last year. Everything's going to be based on what happened last season.
Yeah, I mean, like, Kirk Cousins doesn't necessarily have, I mean, like, he's going to be in his, 36, 37 years old, coming off of an Achilles injury. He's looking good now, but I mean, like, again, that's not insignificant, similar to what with Aaron Rodgers and such.
But
too,
but if you're the Vikings, who do you have to choose from, or who do you have a good chance of landing? Because if it's no better than Kirk Cousins, you keep Kirk and then draft a young quarterback that could train behind him.
Yeah, potentially. It'd have to be probably a later round quarterback.
Yeah, like there's this kid, Joe Milton, who was throwing darts at the combine.
He was, yeah.
You can get somebody like him because he's not being talked about like the Drake May or the McCarthys or Bo Nix. He's going to fall pretty low.
He had probably the best deep ball, if I'm remembering
he
this
just had
correctly.
Yeah, like he had fucking darts.
Yeah.
Like that guy was throwing it like it's on a rope.
Yeah.
But you'd have a good chance of landing somebody like him. It's completely different than who Minnesota's had in the past. Play behind Kirk Cousins, learn the offense, and then he can take over.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there would have to be that, like, certain understanding, too. And it takes probably a big person to be comfortable with signing as a free agent. Like, he's a free agent, and he can go and sign wherever he wants, right? Like, I mean, like the Aaron Rodgers side of things, when they drafted Jordan Love, like Aaron Rodgers was already under contract, and so it was just kind of like, all right, you drafted my replacement, that pisses me off. But like Kirk Cousins would have to acknowledge that you are drafting my replacement, and there's the possibility that I couldn't be the guy, right? And if you are in the face of that versus like I'm going to go to a place that I know there's no competition or whatever.
Yeah, but if anyone's
a new quarterback competition.
If anyone's gonna understand that and not have any fight back, it's a humble guy like Kirk Cousins. He's no Aaron.
That's true.
He's no fucking Aaron Rodgers, who's an arrogant motherfucker.
Yeah, no, for sure. We played this game a little bit. I want to go back to it. I want to name a few teams, and I want to hear you say yes or no. Russell Wilson potentially on this team. So you said Las Vegas.
Number one.
Okay. Atlanta.
Possible. Yes.
Okay. What about Washington?
No. I think Washington is committed to Drake May. Or Drake May or Jaden Daniels. I mean, they're in the top three. They're getting one of those guys.
Okay. So they go young. They don't.
Yeah.
New owner doesn't want. Okay. I guess that's done and failed, I guess, with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson and the New England Patriots.
I don't think that's an automatic no. just because they might see it as a shorter, because they've been in rebuild mode.
Right.
They might see it as a shorter time frame,
Yeah.
having somebody like Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and I mean, like,
I don't
Mac
know.
Jones has seemingly pissed everyone and their brother off. The one that, the final one, I'm sure there's other teams, so I'm not, like, trying to just go down up and down every team that potentially needs a quarterback. But one that I think does potentially need a quarterback, depending on how front office and everyone thinks that this experiment is going, is Pittsburgh. And I'm wondering if how Russ with Mike Tomlin and that, and that team, a good running game, always usually a good defense, sound familiar.
But I look at more than just the roster surrounding him and the coaching staff. I look at the city. And I look at the type of city and the type of fan base that Pittsburgh has does not fit with somebody like Russell Wilson. That is a blue-collar, industrial fucking city. That is not the Hollywood Russell Wilson type.
Sure.
And I don't know if he'll be embraced there.
But it takes one person to embrace him, and that's Mike Tomlin. And I feel like, in a way, that could be kind of like the perfect marriage. Like, people have pointed to the fact that, like, no one trusts anything that Russ says because they always think that it's disingenuous. But then also, like, when you kind of boil down to, like, when things started going sideways for Russ, interestingly enough, kind of feels like it's tied to when his, like, mental health coach, mentor, forget the guy's name, passed away pretty unexpectedly a couple years ago. And I don't know if there's a direct correlation, but I kind of feel like the way that Mike Tomlin is, just his personality, kind of like preacher-esque, not saying that, like, he's a preacher, but, just kind of that, like, he has,
I get what you're saying.
He's got that, like, that thing that I feel like Russ would just totally buy into, and that, like, you could pay off really well.
Now, if Pittsburgh is looking for a quarterback, I would see them getting somebody like Russell Wilson rather than drafting another guy, because I feel like that fan base is going to be like, what are we just drafting a quarterback every
they seem
fucking
like
draft?
they need another veteran at this point.
Yeah, it's like, you went Kenny Pickett. Are you drafting another young guy? Like, no, if they did make a move for a quarterback, it would be somebody from the league, and it would be more likely than getting a young guy from the draft. I do see that happening if that is something they're looking for.
In their style, too. It's kind of like you think about other guys who could potentially be out there. It's like Gardner Minshew. Like, Gardner Minshew's not a Pittsburgh guy.
I think he'll be loved there, but it's not somebody you're building your team around.
Right. And I mean, like, again, you're looking, and possibly, and I haven't looked, let me see if I can look this up real quick. So, NFL salary cap by team. I want to see which teams are in cap hell next year, because Russ could sign for that league minimum of $1.3 million. And so when you're talking about people who don't have any cap space, total cap, let's see, the Bills are screwed right now, the Dolphins are screwed, the Chargers, the Broncos, the Saints, the Cowboys. Someone decided to bring that up. I was listening to Dan Patrick earlier today, starting to say, Russell Wilson to the Dallas Cowboys would be the great. I was like, don't do that. Don't do that. 49ers right there, hovering right around the cap. They don't need a quarterback. Cleveland Browns, they don't need a quarterback. The Pittsburgh Steelers right now, only $9 million in cap space. So they may potentially have to make some tough decisions, cut some guys. When you're thinking about, hey, what's a good value? You could potentially get Russ at $1.3 million. Who knows? But
It's so uninteresting to me. The quarterback movement talk, like Caleb Williams going to the Bears or Jaden Daniels going to this team, and where Russ is going. Like, if we're addressing NFL offseason, what all of that shit is like bottom of the fucking list. I am more interested, because the thing with the quarterback position that we've addressed over and over, it it doesn't matter how skilled you are. If you end up in a shitty position, we lose interest week 3.
Yeah, true.
Because you're just failing. Like, okay, you guys are still in rebuilding mode. Cool. Let's see what happens next year. But the guys that make a difference right away are like Malik Neighbors. Wide receiver factory, LSU. Where's he going to go? Who's going to be throwing to him? That's what I'm in. Like, where's Odunze going? Where's Keon Coleman going?
Sure.
Like, and then the teams that we keep talking about that are on the cusp of making the playoffs or making a run, like outside of the Russ and the Caleb Williams news, I want to know how the Bills are going to do next year. I want to know how the Chargers are going to do next year.
Well, yeah, I mean, you were just talking about
Herbert.
You were talking about that wide receiver draft class. I mean, the Chargers are in prime position to get one of those.
Chargers
guys.
are not getting a wide receiver. They are fucking locked in on one pick.
Who's that?
Brock Bowers from Georgia. They are getting that tight end. They are so high on him. I would be shocked on draft night if they don't take Brock Bowers. Because if Justin Herbert is the guy that we keep saying that he is, or we keep trying to make him out to be, you give him. He's had deep threats, but he's never really had a reliable tight end. So the Chargers' way of thinking is like, get him a Brock Bowers, because that gives him a George Kittle, Travis Kelce type of weapon.
Yeah.
And then you have Quentin Johnson. You have, I don't know if Mike Williams is going to stay, if Keenan Allen.
Right. So that's where I was going to agree and disagree with you, because obviously, what will Jim Harbaugh prioritize in this draft, right? Because ultimately you have a lot of top-heavy guys in, Khalil Mack and Bosa, and then you also have Mike Williams and Keenan Allen as your big, cap eaters in that respect. Also aging all of those guys. So then you go, okay, well, we're the 5th, 6th pick in the NFL draft. We have the opportunity to do that. I could definitely see Jim Harbaugh going like that, rumble tumble tight end type of a position. But also, when you think about Justin Herbert and needing to stabilize that offense and having a good, reliable threat, I think you probably go young there, because right now, within the system that Justin Herbert has ran, it has been with 3 different head coaches, I believe, at this point, hasn't necessarily been overly favorable to the tight end, and that's why I think that maybe they would go the wide receiver.
Then bet me.
Okay.
You'll
take Bowers, and I'll just take the field, or a wide receiver?
I'll give you, I don't want to give you the whole field. I'll give you a wide receiver.
Okay, yeah.
Any wide receiver, and I'll take Brock Bowers.
Okay, that's fine. Are we 20?
20.
All right, deal. You hear that, Braxton? Get in on the money.
When's the draft? April, mid-April?
End of April. Yeah, that final Thursday of April, whatever that date is. That would be the
26th.
25th. Yeah, 25th would be that Thursday. So a little NBA talk before, and then we're gonna get into some NCAA before we get out of here. Is I'm not sure if you caught the Celtics absolutely manhandling the Warriors a couple days ago. It was interesting to see how they decided to sag off Jaylen Brown and dared him to beat him, and they just absolutely smoked him. And it was interesting because one thing that I thought was interesting coming out of that post game was Steph Curry saying, "We used to do that to teams. We used to do that to people." And it almost felt like an interesting passing of the baton from legacy old guard to potentially new guard.
I think we should hit the brakes on passing the baton.
Okay.
Until this Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum Celtics have won rings, they're not even close. You could win by 50, cool. But we've seen the Celtics dominate last year and then fall short of the fucking championship.
For sure.
The thing that's confusing about that game is, did the Warriors just see that they were getting murdered and then they let off the gas and quit?
Right, it's meh.
Because if you look at the minutes played,
Yeah.
They took out their starters and
They
was
did.
like, all right, let's just get this game over with.
I do kind of commend a coach that does do that, where they just go, you know what, one more night, And I remember when Terry Stotts was the head coach of the Trailblazers, and he had Dame and CJ, and Dame and CJ always just had some of the most minutes and most ran miles on the court and all that. They'd be down 23 points in the fourth quarter, and he's like, "You guys are in," and it's almost just kind of like, can't we just?
Yeah, every once in a while it's fine. I don't have a problem with it, especially if it's well, first of all, that's better than load management. Your star still played.
Sure.
And then you're like, all right, we'll take it easy, whatever.
Yeah.
People got to see
For sure.
them.
It's kind of like it's like possibly the new load management, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like people got to see them that paid tickets to see them, but if you're down by 30, what's the point? What's the fucking point?
Yeah.
Save them for the playoffs, whatever.
Yeah. You don't want to end up like Derrick Rose, who injured his pubis. I don't like that word in general.
Pubis?
Yeah, I just don't like anything that starts with pube or ends in...
What even is a pubis?
It's like the high groin area. It's like it's like way up in there. It's not like the groin, but it's kind of like the bone or the things that touch the two groin sides
chode
together.
wire.
Chode wire.
Yeah. The chode wire. The chode bridge.
The chode bridge is what Derrick Rose hurt. So just for your visuals there.
Well, speaking of
he
guards.
He hurt his chode bridge.
Speaking of star guards getting hurt, Jalen Brunson just got hurt, which is horrible timing for
Did
New
he
York.
really? I didn't see that he
like,
got hurt.
Took a jump shot and just landed awkwardly.
Dang. Bummer for him.
It's not like New York was going to make a run, but, you lose your 2-star players leading into the playoffs.
Can't have that. You cannot have that. There's a guy, what was his name? I feel like the Mavericks just signed a guy. Who did the Mavericks just sign? He had a great name. I feel like his name was Fudge or something. Dallas Mavericks transactions? Let me look this up here.
Fudge.
Yeah, Alex Fudge. Alex Fudge was signed this week. A free agent signed to a 2-way contract. I'm going to give you one guess about the ethnicity of Alex Fudge.
White as shit.
So white. Let me see if I can bring it. Actually, no, Alex Fudge is black.
Is he Nigerian?
I thought he was so white. He's a black guy. Oh, my God. Maybe. I really thought that Alex Fudge was so very white. He's not. He's a black man. Apologies to you, good sir. I didn't recognize your game.
From the Lakers?
I guess so. Oh, man. I was so wrong.
It's going to be
that.
interesting how the NBA playoffs work and how these star-studded teams are going to fare, like Phoenix and Dallas with Kyrie healthy, and Boston and Giannis with Dame. Like I'm kind of excited for the NBA playoffs to see what would happen.
Yeah, it was interesting. We saw Yusuf Nurkic had a 30 rebound game the other night. If I could bring up 30 rebound games, don't happen very often. If I could,
I think Kevin Love was the last one.
We had. You are right. Kevin Love was on there. Come on. Show up.
Minnesota Kevin Love was the last one to do that.
Actually, you are incorrect. He did do it in 2010, Kevin Love did. Andrew Bynum did in 2012. Dwight Howard, 2018. Ennis Freedom Cantor in 2021. And then Yusuf Nurkic in 2024. So only a few players ever done it.
And the player that matters the least, Nurkic.
You don't think the Ennis Cantor or Freedom or whatever is the one
Cantor
that
played more of a role in the teams he was with than
I suppose.
fucking Nurkic matters with Phoenix.
You did mention Kyrie here. I now saw that he is 0-10. Kyrie Irving is on the teams that he has played with. Against the Celtics since that infamous stomp on the Celtics logo game.
The Celtics curse?
Oh, yeah, the Celtics curse. 0-10 against Boston since that very. So,
and what happens when Dallas plays Boston in the... Well, I guess it would have to be the finals.
It would have to be in the finals. That's not going to happen. I was curious. Big news in the NBA was LeBron James scoring his 40,000th point. already had the NBA scoring title, but it did.
I saw something about Magic and Bird combined points in their career, and it's like 200 less than LeBron
combined.
That's fucking crazy.
I bet you're right. I'm not going to fact check you. I just want to see
like
that for myself.
39,008 something.
So Magic Johnson points. All right. So Magic Johnson compiled 17,707 points, 65-ish, 100 rebounds, and 10,000 assists. Okay, so that's 17,000. Who was the other one? Larry Bird?
Yeah, and you already know Bird played less than him, so...
Larry Bird points, 21,791. That is pretty wild. If you're looking at most NBA points, all-time leaders, you have...
It should be LeBron, Kareem,
Yep.
Kobe,
No.
Malone.
Yes, Malone and then Kobe.
Kobe and then Jordan.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Very good. Do you know who 6 is?
Dirk?
It is Dirk. You're good at this. I'm going to keep you going. Who's after Dirk, do you think? Older player. Tons of sex.
Will,
Yeah.
Timmy?
Tim Duncan is number 16, so he's down the list. Inactive.
Oh, Carmelo's.
Carmelo's number 10. There's 2 guys in between that. We'll just round out at 10. Shaq is number 8. Current player right now.
Kevin Durant.
Yeah. And then number 10, Carmelo.
That's
very good. That right on the spot. I'm impressed.
I know more about basketball than I do everything else. But LeBron's stat line hit career, which is fucking insane. But it's what's impressive when you see these numbers is not necessarily the numbers themselves, but just his longevity.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was able to play without sitting out for that long. His career stat line is 27 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That is
wild.
crazy. But another crazy stat is he's never scored 27 points in a game.
Really?
Yeah.
He's averaging 27 and never
He's
scored 27.
never scored 27.
That
in a
is
game.
a fun fact.
He's never
right
had
there.
that stat line.
Yeah.
In a game. Those are his averages.
Interesting.
27 points in a game. I was watching I think it was Taylor Rooks interviewing Trae Young. And Luka has said this, like Luka Doncic has said it in a JJ Redick podcast. He was like, it is so much easier to score in the NBA than college or overseas because it's an entertainment league.
Right.
Because they want you to score. And a lot of people can be pissed and was like, no, this is like WWE. It's just offense. They're not calling traveling or any of that. But they've also eliminated rules on defense to make it harder for you to play defense because a defensive 3-second went away.
Yeah, defensive, Things falling again. What was that?
Or is it a fucking lake? It sounded like a dog going. Rawr.
Oh, really? Oh, maybe it was a cat. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's why the Celtics have won by 50 points in 3 games this season.
Mm-hmm.
They've scored 140, 150, 155.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
It is wild. Did you see the clip in which Patrick Beverley was guarding, I think it was Jimmy Butler really hard, and they just weren't calling a foul at all, and so Bam Adebayo just came up and just friggin' rocked him. He probably fouled him like 10 times, in the letter of the law. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. Couple things about LeBron. Number one, how do you think that his game has evolved, or do you think it has evolved throughout his career, right? Because like some guys, the Dirks of the world, Tim Duncan, like those guys kind of as they got older in their career were like, I need to develop a 3-point shot, right? Like how do you feel LeBron has been able to maintain that longevity, or is it just having a psycho regimen and body?
I don't see his game I don't see that his game has changed.
I don't
that
either.
much.
Yeah.
Because like if you're talking about Dirk was doing a lot of post ups and fadeaway, and then towards the end he was shooting a lot more threes.
Straightaway three was a dagger.
And Tim
towards the end of the
Duncan,
game.
back when he started with David Robinson, I mean, he was in the paint, like in the trenches against Kevin Garnett, rebounding and putbacks. And then he started doing more of the bank shot, like from the post and doing the bank. But LeBron is like, I mean, can we sit here and say he developed a 3-point shot? I mean, it's been the same. He was shooting jump shots when he was young. Mm-hmm. Has he gotten a better 3-point shot? I don't think so. It doesn't seem like it.
Right.
He was driving with a lot more force back when he was younger, but we're still kind of seeing that today.
Right.
You could, I guess, say that he's more of a facilitator, but he was kind of doing that back then.
Sure.
I think his game is fairly similar.
I do too.
To when he started.
Yeah, I was just making sure that I was kind of like testing myself to see if you would come up, because it was kind of the similar thought there.
I think he's more, I don't want to say like in a negative way, like letting the game come to him later in the later stages, like right now. Because if you're taking a specific time in his career, Miami LeBron was fucking aggressive. Mm-hmm. Like Miami Heat LeBron was just nonstop, 100 miles per hour, super aggressive. And that was probably the best LeBron. Miami LeBron.
Miami LeBron with like that extra, like, as if a guy didn't need to feel like swaggy or confident, have more confidence. It was just exuded out of him. And the other thing I wanted to ask about, which was 40,000 points, the NBA scoring tied most points in NBA history. Do you think, or would you give that up to say that you had one or two more titles, to relinquish the most points of all time in the 40,000 points, to say I got another one?
Are you asking me if I was a player, or are you asking me if LeBron would?
If LeBron would. And I guess, like, yeah, from not only like a personal thing, but also LeBron.
I wouldn't, because rings are more important to me.
Yeah.
I would take number 10 on the list if I can have 3 more championships.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I don't think he would. I think he cares too much about his image and his personal accomplishments. Not to say that he doesn't care about rings, but LeBron clearly cares about how he looks and what he's accomplished
how
individually.
He's perceived, yeah, for sure.
I think if you asked him that, he would answer rings before he got to 40,000 or the number one scorer in the league. But right now, I don't think he's given that up.
I tend to agree. I mean, like at a certain point, he'll just say, well, I led a whole team to a championship and we were almost there another time, blah, blah, blah.
I think it would be different if he hasn't won a ring.
If he never won a ring?
If he's never won a championship, I think he would say, yeah, I'll take it. But he has 4. So I don't think it's something he's given up.
Yeah. Do you think he wins another one before he retires?
His best chance is this season.
Sure. Yeah, I would agree with
his best chance this season.
Yeah.
I think how it's looking, how the roster is looking, pending health with the Jarrett Vanderbilts and the Gabe Vincent and Christian Wood and Rui and Austin Reeves and all these guys, he has the best roster with LA and Anthony Davis not getting hurt.
Right, yeah.
Because it's easy to look at records and be like, oh, Minnesota and Oklahoma City, they're top of the league, and Lakers are 34-29, just above 500.
Miami was an 8 seed last year,
But I tell you what, when you start facing people like LeBron James and Anthony Davis in a 7-game series, the records don't fucking matter anymore.
Yeah.
If those guys are on the floor and they're not hurt and they're playing at 100%, I will not take the Lakers off of any conversation because I would be fucking terrified of
I mean, we saw last year with the number 2 Grizzlies and the Lakers a 7 seed. I mean, they proved that. I think that, and even I think that like Jimmy Butler was starting to kind of talk about it too, just about like, playoff Jimmy and all of that stuff, and just what the difference is and kind of how that mentality shifts and everything. It's just different.
We talk about this with, we touched on it last NFL season with those X Factor guys, the number one option guys. There's a switch with these superstars that when they turn it on, especially when the league caters to how they play,
sure,
they're very hard to stop. The Lakers played the Clippers a few days ago, and the Lakers were down by, 20? Mm-hmm. LeBron just turned it on by himself, and they fucking came back and won.
And they won, yeah.
And yeah, they didn't, the Clippers didn't have Paul George, whatever, but, that James Harden, they had Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, I know. They still have a lot of those guys.
Just because you don't have 3 MVPs and you only had 2 doesn't mean that you had a shit team on the floor.
Yeah.
But LeBron could turn it on and score 35.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis could turn it on and go 30-20. It's hard to say. But I think if he doesn't win a championship this season, I don't think he wins another one.
Mm-hmm. There's been a little bit of talk, and this is a little bit, there's a couple of casual NBA things I wanted to ask about. Is that there's been a little bit of talk about, do you extend the three-point line because guys are already shooting this far? And if you do extend the three-point line, do you then have to make the court a little bit wider, thus making the playing surface, the possibility of spreading the court out a little bit more? Does that potentially, one, make it easier for the three, or the chance that someone can slip in and have a dunk, anything like that? Are you in favor of a bigger court and a longer three-point line all around?
What would be the advantage of extending the three-point line?
Just
what would it do?
Just the possibility that people won't be able to complete a three-pointer as easily. I don't know.
But why would the league want that?
I don't know if the league wants that. I think that that's what some people are floating as a way of creating a deeper competitive balance against having the three, is to disincentivize the three.
I think it's stupid.
Yeah.
I think extending the three-point line, making the court bigger, is stupid. This is another version of the tush push.
Yeah.
Not every team can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just because Steph Curry's really good at threes doesn't, you still have to put the ball in the fucking hoop.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't mean that just because the 3-point line is where it is that everyone could make it. No.
Yeah,
you still have to be a really good fucking shooter.
I would rather see a 3-point line just totally go away and just go right back to just that big ogre type of basketball. I don't actually think I actually like how the game is looking right now. But
I wouldn't be against getting rid of it, because I think it would force players to have more of a skill set, like a bag. When you reach into your bag, and what can you do when you're one-on-one?
Right.
Because
elbow jumper, pull up,
you have
post up.
certain players that are fucking polished when it comes to one-on-one play. They have so many tricks. You're not stopping Kyrie.
Right.
You give him one side of the court, everyone gives him ISO ball, you're not stopping him. He's got way too many fucking tricks. But then I remember when they were making fun of Giannis. They gave him ISO ball and Giannis had nothing. But it goes back to how, of all people, James Harden was making fun of him. It was yeah, if I was 7 feet, I would just run and dunk on everyone.
Yeah.
But Giannis didn't necessarily prove that wrong, because he was given ISO ball from 18 feet and he was dribbling like he was Pete Maravich, and he was I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
How do I walk? How do I do any of this?
But it would force you to train and to figure out how to get to the basket, or figure out how to get open instead of just chucking it up.
Definitely.
Not everyone's Steph.
It's true. Not everyone's Steph, and not everyone is Mac McClung.
Mac fucking McClung.
Mac McClung, the dunk competition winner 2 years in a row. The transition is, I saw that Zion Williamson said that he would do the dunk competition if and only if he is voted as an NBA All-Star. So I guess he's trying to manipulate his way into being an all-star by saying, "Hey guys, I'll do it, but you have to vote me in." That's like fraud. That's voter fraud.
It's but I get what he's saying. Are we really thinking that he won't be an all-star?
Yeah, I know.
The only reason he hasn't been an all-star is
He's been
because
hurt.
he hasn't played enough
Yeah,
games.
he's been hurt.
I mean, that guy will be the top 5 vote getter if he was not hurt.
Right, that
He'd
is
be-
true.
And the dunk contest is dying, like we've addressed. You bring Zion into it, everyone's
Instant
watching
eyeballs.
it.
Yeah,
Everyone's
instant
fucking
eyeballs.
watching it.
Instant eyeballs. Instant eyeballs coming up in a couple of weeks here. We are about to enter conference championship weekends, and then we are 2 weeks away from March Madness.
Well, don't skip the biggest game of the year.
Duke
Saturday,
and North Carolina.
3:30, revenge game.
Yep.
And it's at Duke.
Yeah, it's at Dookie. What's the
Ugh.
line on that right now? Do we know?
Carolina has to be favored.
New Duke were... Let's look at this. No, not NC State. Duke UNC odds.
There's no line on Yahoo yet.
Really? ESPN Analytics favors Duke at home with 67.8 chance of winning versus UNC. UNC covered versus Duke in their first 2 matchups this season. They'll meet again in the regular season finale on March 9th at Cameron Indoor Stadium in Durham. So, what do you need to see from your Dukies, from your Bluke Dew Devils?
Don't lose to North Carolina.
Just don't lose. There you go.
End the season losing to them. You need that momentum carrying you. Duke just played 2 incredible games this week. They just beat the shit out of NC State last night. And they played a top 5 defensive team in the country in Virginia on Saturday and beat Virginia by 30. Don't lose to North Carolina.
Don't lose to North Carolina. Right now, in your AP rankings, you have Houston controlling the majority of your first place votes with UConn number 2, Purdue, Tennessee, Arizona, Iowa State, North Carolina at 7, Marquette at number 8, the Bluke Dew Devils at 9, and Creighton at 10.
It's tough. My heart tells me Houston, but you look at the history of NCAA, the best defensive teams that, like, I'm talking about, like the Tony Bennett Virginias that could stop you,
Yeah.
and keep you from scoring 50. They go kind of deep, but if you can't score,
Yeah.
if you can't score and score more than what you've stopped them at,
Yeah.
you can't win. Houston's kind of that. They are better offensively, but they're the best defensive team. I just don't know if they have enough offensive firepower to take it all the way.
There is that one model. You might have to help me on this. It's the
KenPom.
KenPom. Yeah, so let's look at the KenPom rankings here. KenPom rankings. KenPom rankings are when you have a top defense meets top offense, and then you have to, like, be within the certain realm there. Obviously, like Houston being number 1, Connecticut 2, Purdue 3, Arizona 4, Auburn number 5, Tennessee 6, Duke 7, North Carolina 8, Alabama 9, and number 10, Iowa State. So that's the current KenPom rankings. Obviously, when you have a top, I think, what is it, top 40 offense and a top 20 defense, or maybe something
If
interchangeable.
you're top
with that.
25 of every single national champion has been in the top 25
of each category.
of each category.
Got you. Okay. I knew I was going to botch that because I hadn't prepared my thoughts on that.
So
but
the top 10 teams are all in it.
yeah. Yeah, those are your top 10 right now, according to the KenPom rankings. And so, yeah, I wonder, too, if we were to look at Could you look at current NCAA basketball odds to win championship? Let's see if we have BetMGM.
I bet it would be pretty close to the top 10 rankings.
Yeah, so right now the current odds are UConn at plus 500, Houston at plus 650, Purdue plus 700. I'm going to just stay away from Purdue. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
They just Arizona plus 1,000, Tennessee plus 1,200, North Carolina at plus 1,800. And then you have Auburn, Kansas, Iowa State, Kentucky, all at plus 2,000. Duke plus 2,500. If we go up to the ALNAs, that might be a good value for you to put some money
Outside
on.
of North Carolina making it far, it would really bother me if Arizona made it to the Final Four.
Really? Just because of your allegiance to Arizona State, or?
It's less with Arizona State, but the Arizona is inherently a powerhouse basketball school because of Lute Olson,
Right.
like back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And Duke beat them before, but one of Arizona's players is a transfer from North Carolina. It's Caleb Love.
Uh-huh.
He's the one who hit that 3 in the Final Four against Duke on Coach K's last year.
Yeah.
I fucking hate that guy. And they beat Duke
Anyone
this year.
who ends up, yeah.
They beat Duke this year. I just wouldn't want Arizona to see it. I don't have any faith in Kansas. I think Kansas is a bunch of fucking frauds this year. I don't think they're going anywhere.
Yeah.
If I can get Duke at plus 2,500,
It's not bad.
I'll put fucking $20 on that just to
Yeah, because
see what
like
happens.
$20 at plus 2,500, that is
$250.
no, it's more than that, isn't it?
Oh yeah, 5
Odds calculator, betting odds calculator and
$800.
converter. So if you have a $20 bet, and your American odds are plus 500.
2,500.
2,500. Yeah, that is a payday of $500.
I'll take it.
Yeah, $20 to pay $500 on a team that you love. I mean, you could throw that away easily.
Man, I need them to just make it. You see that on the ACC network they did a Rivals interview. It was Coach K and Roy Williams in the middle of the court.
No way.
And the crowd are a bunch of coaches. It was like a coach, not really training, but it was just asking them questions about the rivalry in college basketball. It was pretty cool. It was pretty awesome.
Like a TED
fucking
Talk
interview.
type of a thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, if, compelling like that, you wonder why one that hasn't happened like live in games before. Maybe they're not like polished enough to be able to like be coherent in their thoughts in the moment. We've already talked about like the possible like coach cast with like Nick Saban and Bill Belichick.
That's
or
what makes
something
it
like
cool.
that.
Is you're talking about two legendary coaches that are now out of coaching, and they were being asked questions like, what's it like when you show up to a game? And even Roy Williams was like, I find myself yelling at players and I have to remind myself that I'm a fan now. Like, I'm not a coach anymore.
Yeah.
And then they asked them, like, hey, what's it like heading into these North Carolina Duke games? When you show up to the stadium and you see how crazy the fans are.
Yeah.
And Coach K was like, the games are always great. It doesn't matter who's ranked where, what the record is.
It always
games
has
are always
that
a
feeling.
nail biter.
Yeah.
If the refs don't fucking screw it up.
Yeah.
Roy Williams lost it. He was like, he's not lying.
It is probably so wild, right? To have to like disconnect yourself, because that's always going to be in you. And we know what, like, we've all seen Coach K and Roy Williams and all those guys on the sidelines just having an aneurysm, just like, veins popping out of their neck, and to think that they just have to be in the stands and be like, all right, yeah, go team.
Well, Roy Williams has been to more games as a fan than Coach K. He said he doesn't like going because he doesn't want to take the attention away.
Be a distraction. Yeah.
And John Shire had asked him, will you come to the Notre Dame game this season? He goes, okay. He showed up with his wife, and they were underneath the basket. And he said within the first 5 minutes, it just started bothering him because everyone had their phones out, and they were just doing this. And he goes, will you guys just like
not pay attention to me, please?
Yeah, like watch the
If
game.
Coach K showed up in a fucking Groucho Marx thing just to like see if he could be in disguise, it would be
Coach
the
K?
most
Not me. Not me.
Not me. Ain't me.
Also, I didn't know this when I started watching the show. It was not a factor at all in me wanting to start the show, but the bear, I didn't know it had some Duke and Coach K in it.
Yeah, how about that?
That's pretty fucking awesome. And I have that book.
The thing, yeah.
I have that book.
The things, I wonder how much of the book sold after that as well.
Courage and Determination, or Courage and Success, or whatever.
Right.
But I think it's pretty cool.
Next week on the podcast, we are hoping to have not only a NBA, but also NCAA mind to join us in this Thursday. We're so far away from each other, but I do kind of like the space, we shall see. Maybe, I haven't measured it yet, but in the new studio, we might be able to get an even bigger couch, so that would be pretty
we'll
neat.
be indoors, right?
We'll be indoors, yeah. Well, what's indoors?
It'd get me to smoke less.
Wait, what's indoors? Because it might actually be in the garage again.
Oh.
Eventually, if we ever do make a bonus room in that basement area, we might actually be physically in a house with
Actually,
heat.
you know, I wouldn't mind not being able to smoke during the pod.
Yeah.
It'd keep me from smoking less.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, we'll just ban you from smoking in the new
It'll
house.
get me to smoke less as well.
There you go.
We
Yeah,
can
so
go before and after.
you are banned from doing that. Well, we are gonna boogie because we're getting the button that we're getting beeped out. So
We'll keep our guest a secret until next week.
Secret, or because we got to figure it out. Either way, Braxton will yet again be gone next week. So it looks like he's having a grand old time in Italia.
I know. I like that he's like, man, Italy's for me. They just crack open a beer and I can drink it while walking around. I'm like, ever been to Vegas?
Yeah.
You kill a hooker on the street.
Or Memphis.
They don't give a fuck, man.
Yeah, there were plenty of places that you.
But
could
then I
do this,
remembered
Braxton.
he has not been to Vegas as an adult, so
That's
he
right.
doesn't
Yeah,
know.
I know. He's so well traveled. He's more traveled than all of us at this point. Mexico, Italy. The man knows how to travel. So we're very happy for them. Once again, it will be us next week. And then we're still trying to figure out if maybe we could even do an episode at ALNA. I think that would be fun, but they'll probably tell us to buzz off. But we'll figure
during
that
a busy March Madness.
yeah, like after.
They're like,
the
who are
fact
these
when-
bozos?
Yeah, we'll see. Well, anyways, I guess I will clear eyes and full hearts.
Can't lose.
See you next week.